MooseTalks.
Alright. Today we're going to talk about form. Oh. Oops. I'll get out of here. There you go. Alright. No, I need chill music. 1 second. Peeps. I'll mute myself. That sounds better. Let's go. Let's get that jam on. That way I can draw in vibe. Ooh, this is a vibe. So today, we're gonna talk about plane changes in form and how I learned it. Well, maybe I'll start with the drawing. And I'll get a pencil brush to illustrate this a little bit better. If you want to learn how to draw smooth lines like I do, what I did back in the day is I drew over my shapes a lot. So like I'd do this. I'd literally like go over the line. They wouldn't line up, right? And then I would come back through and I would ink it with a pencil or something. And let me actually mute Discord for right now. That way I don't have any audio popping through. But I would I'd draw the shapes and then I'd begin to ink it with like a pencil or a pen. And what this kind of taught me later on is like, or when I look back at it, what it taught me was line confidence, like getting more confident in your lines, like so you only have to do it once. And then also drawing more solid things, because what'll happen is you'll feel out the shapes. But also, this is not the same as the chicken scratch that you see people do all the time, although the idea is the same, like you're feeling out the shapes. The thing is, like, you're just having more confidence drawing the shapes and ghosting in lines or like drawing over them, because this isn't going to be the finished thing. That's what I did to learn line confidence, and I also had a heavy hand, so like when I loosened my grip, my hand kind of got looser into that effect because of that. So drawing became a little bit more flowy. Like I feel like I have a very naturally flowy line sensibility. I also tend to use a lot of curves in almost every drawing I have. Like that is one thing. Now, I'm gonna get to what I was originally kind of trying to talk about today, which was form. And how I define form, and maybe I'll type it out just so we have it on here. Because I define form mainly because other people haven't when they teach this stuff, and it kind of annoyed me a little bit. Like that is a small thing I noticed within all videos. Like talk about it. They use the word form a lot, but they don't explain it as much. And I think some people do, but it's not really well thought out sentences to some degree in my mind. I describe it as how you represent volume in space, or just in general. It's just how you represent volume, but it's in space because it's in relation to space usually. What does this mean? This is like painting, basically. And this is actually how I got to this, is I was drawing arms when I was younger. I don't know what this music is. I feel like I'm in an elevator. I don't like this. Get me out of here. I'm gonna go. Is this better? I don't want lyrics. Chill beats? Eh. I'm just trying to be careful. But basically I was drawing arms, and what I came to was I needed to add more perspective. In fact, oh my gosh. Oh, don't know. Oh. Cinematic music. I don't want any of that. Give me something. That's fine. I was drawing arms and heads and stuff. Like, my heads were like this. Like, they didn't quite have the form, because, like, when you think about it, like, I was drawing heads with form in mind, but there really wasn't the perspective. And I think that kind of helps you understand it a little bit, but it's not what you think. I was drawing arms because, like, in Proco and all these other places, like, it's the chain link, right? The idea is the arm is a chain link. What that showed me, though, when I thought about it, was not this. This was not it. In fact, I'll draw, like, what I really thought about was the bones, because Proco teaches the bones, and I thought about that a little bit. And I was like, yo, these bones are, like, because the wrist supposedly ends in a rectangle, and I added pegs into the arm in certain directions, and I drew the lines, right? What this did is it made me think more about the angles, and this is why I think angles are so important now. And let me see if this is correct. I think this is correct, yeah. So you got this. The angles are important because of this. I mean, like, I basically filled in the gaps of that, and this is a box now. Like, this whole thing is a box. Like, these are boxes. They have clearly defined plane changes. The thing is, painters would do this. And I realized this while making a book, or while I was writing a book, which will be out. Who knows when? I'll figure it out. But regardless of that, I was making a book, and then I thought about it as, like, I'm just doing exactly what I've heard painters talk about, where they have these plane changes in the form. And that's literally all this is, just on a smaller scale, like a more simplified scale. Instead of all these planes, instead, I am deciding to, let me merge that. Instead of doing that, I am deciding to basically skip that and go straight to, just 2 planes. 2 or 3 planes is, like, optimal. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. This music is distracting me. It is very peaceful. But yeah. So, like, you really only need, like, a couple lines to understand this. I think it was the square, like, the kind of shape. Yeah, there we go. But I only think about 2 usually at any given moment. So, like, what's going on is this is facing a direction and this is facing a direction. If I were to draw the extra lines, then you can put it straight into a box. And you can do this with anything. You can put anything into a box knowing this. That's the whole idea, basically. Is that you can now have the ability to place things in boxes. And why this is important is if you can do this, you can orientate yourself in space. You can, like, start drawing arrows. And you can understand what direction objects are facing when you draw them. That's really what this does. Like, it teaches you how to understand the direction of objects. Um, and I even did this with the bean when I was learning early on. So like the bean, I could never draw um, the boxes correctly that Bridgman had, uh, or the Robo Bean that Proco teaches. But I could draw the bean, and I figured out this neat method where I could draw the bean, and then I could draw the boxes over top of the bean. And I realized, like, the curve makes the boxes always line up. I wouldn't do this for everything, and there's a reason, because, like, there are times where your torso does not just meet up like a convenient bean. Like, that's why I wouldn't do it all the time. And, like, I'm more in that side. But understanding that is important to know. Like, nothing I teach is a one and done. It's just a tool or something that I had to come to. But yeah, so if you know that, you can start drawing objects in space. You can draw them with directions. Like, and then you can, if you want to, you could animate them. So like, watch this. I'll draw a nose, right? Your this nose is facing one way. Oh, I'll draw the nose up here now. Or I guess down here, right? Oh, like which way are they facing? And then you add more details, and it's just like your brain will pick up on this. It's like, which way is their head facing? This person's looking down, this person's looking directly at us. Right? What else was I going to talk about? So, I mean, those are the more important things. Angles, form, and plane changes. Like the volume. And how you render it is a fascinating topic. Maybe I'll go into that a bit. So painters will render it with value, and the lines will generally, like the painting strokes will generally follow the thing. There's also texture, which I'm not going to talk about. But the lines, I noticed that you can have like one line, or you can have like 2 or 3. And your brain will inherently view this as form. It will think that there is a shadow side, even though I never drew a shadow side. This is the fascinating thing that we have going on with our heads, is that we just kind of comprehend it. But it's worth noting, because then you can go into more complex things. I actually don't like over rendering. I've noticed, like I flat out just don't like it. I'm usually a flat cell shade guy, or even my paintings are more flat. Just even hatching, like I could do it. Having an over detailed area of hatching with no purpose in the composition or like values overall just seems odd to me. I think it has its uses. That's really what it is. But I'd rather have something more iconic or visually grabbing my eye from far away than something that demands all this detail that becomes noise if it's grayscaled, or if it's like really set up. I'm gonna drink my coffee though. But yeah, that's form. Form is how you represent the volume in space. I can make these planets because I'm stupid, but it's how you represent the volume in space. Now I'm gonna go into what was I gonna go into? I don't really have much, do I? Huh. I mean, I've been animating recently. I could do that. I'd have to open a new document, but the main point of this video was understanding what form is and talking more about that and how it's used. What's more fascinating is deciding how you want to depict form. That's what it was. I can talk about the shape design sensibilities I have with form. It's just so fascinating. So like, let's say you have a wacky shape, I actually wrote down a new chapter to my book about this, like a new idea. Right, let's say you have this shape, and is it a shape or is it a form? Well, because we see things as shapes first, usually, you can kind of decide if you want it to be a form. You can also decide what kind of bumps and things are on the form. Right? So, like, this is a form. This is clearly three-dimensional. It can clearly have a shadow side, if I wanted it to. Right? You do all kinds of things with this. It could be a side profile of a person, right? Which is what I was thinking originally. That's low-hanging fruit, though. This is more like a shirt sleeve. But, like, you can just keep playing with this idea and understanding that, like, any object can be formed. One of the shapes that I used with my friend a long time ago was this, and, like, how to design a shape with this. Well, look, I just did it. It's no longer just a 2D image. Right? It's no longer just flat. It has a center line. Generally, what I will do is think of a center line, like a center point. That way I can represent the curve or the volume, right? So if I were to, like, draw it out, I'd probably dot out the lines, you know, like the drawing books, and this is the volume on the inside, right? So, But it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because then you can, like, play with shape more. In fact, I actually have something I consider the shape game. And the shape game is taking 3 shapes and basically turning it into a character of some sort. And you can use them in any way, shape, or form, but you understand form, a little bit of gesture, and then you can play with it. And that's the main idea. Like, I can do this. This is not an exercise to, like, draw things necessarily pretty, but it teaches you silhouette and negative space. So I can even do the hair. Like, I can design the hair around this, and, like, the shape could be something else, or I can make the top a hat. It's just, like, get creative with how you use these shapes. I can even design hairstyles with this shape in mind. Right? See, look what I did there. Look what I did. So, like, you can literally just design things, and it's what I mean by, like, it teaches you silhouette and negative space. Like, it will literally teach you that. And that's what's so fascinating about it, because, like, now they have a defined, clear silhouette. It's very readable. In real life, silhouettes are not this readable all the time. In fact, they're pretty subtle. But it's worth noting how you can do that. So, knowing this, all these different things about form and my shape game that I like to play to show off negative space, I've been teetering with the idea about front facing, or, like, silhouettes, or one side is relatively plain, and the other side has more kind of stuff going on with it. So, like, if I drew, let's say, a body, and it's the bow and arrow that Steven Silver talked about recently. It could be thing that Ethan Becker talked about on his channel about like a direction in the shape. Regardless if you want to call it, it could be a weird shape. That's what fascinates me. And I'll make a weird one just so we can like kind of prove that point. It could be a weird front-facing shape, but I can turn that into an interesting figure nonetheless. Like that's what's so fascinating. Like I could legit do this. Like I can make this the legs. You could just be a guy with like high-waisted pants or something. Like he's got a gut. Whatever. You can do this with the arms and the legs. I didn't think straight about the posing of this guy, so I'll have to redo some part of it. I think the my eraser's messed up, or my lasso that I use. But yeah. So like even with legs, I can make them skinny. I can make them pop out. I can do whatever I want, and it still kind of works. Even like this is kind of vaguely the straights against curves idea, except I don't always have it completely straight. But you get the appeal and the design sensibilities from it. Like it still feels very shapy, is the whole thing. It still feels very designed, and that appeals to me. Probably had like a head or something, but there you go. And he's got these shapes going on with him. His legs are obviously kind of, you know, so it's been really interesting to understand that. A lot of what you'll do with silhouettes when you're breaking it is clothing. Like that's what that is. So like you'll have shirts, you'll have like hats, hair. Hair does it a lot in like a lot of cartoony designs. Or like hair will like break up the form and make it look aesthetically pleasing because it's a big blocky shape. And you can get a lot of clarity and information straight out from. And the clothes will do that too. Like let's say this is a poncho of some sort. Right, they got like big hair, you got a poncho, and these kind of droopy hairs, and it's like, there you go. And we could say that she's more round, or like whatever. No, I could do skirt, I could do whatever I want. Yeah, more round. But you see how much how playful the character is, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I can do like a skirt or whatever I want to do. I can do all of it. Shape-wise though, you're not gonna probably forget the silhouette. That's what this is about. And in fact, there's an animation company that used to exist called UPA. And this is the company that actually influenced the styles of, what's it called? Of Flintstones, Jetsons, all that early cartoon stuff at Hanna-Barbera was influenced by UPA style, which is a more shape-oriented or flat drawing style. And so was Dexter's Lab and a lot of cartoon classics. And the reasoning behind it is, it was a budgetary thing. It was a budgetary thing mixed with, like, also creativity. And I personally like the stylings that come out of it more than I do modern cartoons nowadays. Do I think modern cartoons are animated better? Yeah, they are. Stylistically, though, it's become kind of dull. At least the fun, type of characters and stuff that I used to see as a kid. It was certainly more entertaining to look at. But some cartoons and designs go off that sensibility. I'm just not seeing it as much as I used to. But look, now we got Elvis, bro. I'm actually gonna end it here with Elvis. I hope you learned something as the music blares in my ear. Oh my gosh. See ya. Have a rockin' time. I gotta find the recording button.